All right, guys. So today we're going to be talking about kind of a really general topic. All right. This is actually the first webinar in a series of webinars we're going to be doing. So really what we're starting off with is kind of highlighting these three different technologies that we use pretty much day in, day out. I use these all the time. Obviously, I do work with Plant 3D, so that one's a little biased, but also Autodesk Vault and Construction Cloud. So really what we're going to be focusing on with Plant as well is the spec-driven modeling, and then we're going to be, like I said, talking about a little bit of an overview with Vault and Construction Cloud. I know Vault and Construction Cloud are very, very similar. I have a ton of questions. Pretty much every time we do a consulting with somebody, they're like, "Well, what's the difference?" They both are document management tools, but how are they different? So we're going to jump in and talk about that too. If we can go to that first slide there. I don't know if I need to do it. Oh, I'm sorry. We can actually jump two more slides. Sorry about that. So yeah, we're going to talk about the Plant 3D spec-driven modeling first. So really, there's a few points that I want to hit on with this. And this is really, like I said, this is for spec-driven modeling. So spec-driven P&IDs. Obviously, in Plant 3D, our 3D modeling is all spec-driven. We're following a specific piping specification. But really, going off of the specs is something that it's so necessary. And really, we have a few reasons why they're very necessary. First off, efficiency and design process. Um, really, this is kind of, I mean, it speaks for itself. If you're using the pipe specs, you're going to be doing this in the most efficient manner. You're going to be um, being able to use these pre-configured specifications and creating even your own custom specifications, and including things like pipe fittings, equipment, things like that. And this really streamlines the design process. So you're not having to kind of reinvent the wheel every time you put a line on the paper. It's everything's there. You just kind of pick out what you need, and you can go through and design it a lot more efficiently. Another big topic that goes really hand in hand with this is consistency. If we're all using the same pipe specs, if we're using the correct pipe specifications, then we're going to be consistent. Now, obviously, we're going to have things like revisions and things like that that go along with that. And that's kind of where the easy modifications tab comes in handy as well. So these piping specifications can be changed and then pushed to all the users. So just another reason why it's nice. You don't have to go through and change every single part. You can actually push that spec-driven update, and it will help everything out there. Takeoffs. This is one of the biggest things that is kind of the game changer for Plant 3D is the material takeoffs, the metadata that's behind all of these parts in Plant 3D. So really being able to pull accurate material takeoffs is just, it's so important. And with Plant, I mean, obviously after configuration and things like that, I mean, you can have reports instantly. There's no opening up a blank Excel spreadsheet and having to go back and forth between the P&IDs and the spreadsheet and add you just don't have to do that with Plant 3D. It's much faster. Obviously, compliance, that's a huge part of this, being in compliance with the correct specs and things like that. And that kind of falls in line with reduced errors. Being able to accurately put onto paper the specifications, accurately use those in your design process, it does help reduce errors. It does help reduce change orders, things like that. Just going off the pipe specs is usually something that you want to very much so make sure you're doing. And then lastly, faster project delivery. This kind of goes hand in hand with everything that we've talked about. If you're efficiently designing, if you're consistent and you don't have to, like I said, reinvent the wheel every time you start drafting, if you're able to get these takeoffs quickly and accurately and stay in compliance, then you're going to have faster project delivery because you're not going to have all the rework and things like that. I believe the spec-driven modeling is actually going to be something that we're going to dive into a little more in depth. I think, Misty, you have the date. I think we're going to send that one out, actually. But that's going to be our first technical webinar that we're going to really dive into deep and take a look at what goes on there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit the next slide. I don't know. There we go. So Autodesk Vault. I kind of wanted to stay on this for just a second before I jump into the benefits specifically of Vault. Like I said, almost every time I work with customers that are really starting up using Autodesk software, they're like, okay, well, what's the difference between Vault and ACC? Are they both in the cloud? Are they what are they? What exactly do they do? I understand they're both document management solutions, but how do they work? So an easy way to remember this is Vault is an on-premise or a cloud-based data management solution, right? So it can be, obviously, you could set this on-premise. You can use your existing servers. That saves a lot of your IT infrastructure, a lot of security. If you're a very security mindset, that is probably the best bet for you. But it also does have the cloud solution as well. So it offers a cloud-based version, and it can be configured with Azure, Microsoft Azure, or AWS, so Amazon Web Services. So it really depends on what your really on a few different factors: data security, IT infrastructure, the need for remote collaboration. Those are some really big talking points that you really need to go through before you decide if you're going to be using Vault or ACC. Like I said, with Vault, there's a lot more in depth you can get with that security, things like that, because obviously, like I said, you can do your on-premise. And then the next slide. There we go. So kind of a few things that I want to talk about specifically about Vault, and then we'll jump in after this and talk about ACC, so the Construction Cloud. So like I said, there's a few more things that we can talk about. Obviously, data organization and version controlling. These are huge parts of all of this. Being able to actually obviously organize and control versions. I mean, this is a lifesaver when it comes to things like P&IDs and revisions and stuff like that. Being able to roll back versions and stuff like that is very nice. Collaboration. I feel like collaboration is the key with Vault and ACC. Both of them are made for collaboration. That's their I would say they're one of their main focuses. Obviously, it is data management, but I mean, collaboration is kind of the key with this. There's also, I mean, a few more things that are specific to Autodesk Vault. The security is very robust with Vault. Automated workflows, so these repetitive tasks that we have to do, like creating like NWFs or NWDs and things like that. These all can be automated through Vault. Very helpful. There's a few more things. Reduced data loss. This is a huge thing. Being able to have that backup of your project in Plant, of your work that you're doing, it's so necessary to be able to have that. Lastly, compliance and documentation, and then the time and cost savings. The compliance and documentation, I mean, this day and age, we always have to have the documentation. We have to be in compliance with the industry standards and regulations. I mean, these are things that are, I mean, they're not optional. You know, they're compliance with these standards. They're not something that we can just kind of do all willy-nilly. We have to make sure we're following these. And then lastly, the time and cost savings. Being able to I always use the euphemism, the reinventing the wheel. Autodesk did this so we don't have to reinvent the wheel every time we want to have a data storage and management solution. So like I said, Vault, I don't use Vault quite as much as I use ACC, to be honest, but there are so many, like I said, so many of our customers that have to be in compliance with these regulations and things like that, and Vault is the answer for them. So. And then lastly, if we can jump to the next slide, we have our Autodesk Construction Cloud. So ACC, this is a completely cloud-based, I mean, it's right there in the name. It's a cloud-based collaboration and management solution. Honestly, you know, during COVID, during the past few years of working from home and things like that, ACC has really been an absolute lifesaver. Because of people wanting to also move across the country, maybe move to places where they couldn't live before because of access. Now they can, and they can continue working because of the Autodesk Construction Cloud. It's honestly, it's as easy as opening up a web browser. That's how easy it is to get going on ACC. And you know, like I said, I may be a little biased to ACC over Vault just because I use it so much more, and I really love the collaboration with it. It's just incredible. So if we want to jump to that next slide, I think that's my last info slide. This really, we're going to highlight some of the things that ACC does very, very well. I would say the first and kind of the center stage on this is the collaboration. I mean, it's integral. The integration between Plant 3D and ACC is really awesome. It's very quite simple. Your workflows, as far as working in Plant 3D with ACC, the workflows barely change. Pretty much all you're doing is having to check in and check out drawings, as opposed to having to make sure everything's stored on the proper network and things like that. It's much simpler to work with. Next, the bidirectional data flow. This is actually something that's quite useful. Being able to go back and forth between the different phases of design and construction, being able to synchronize all this with ACC, having really, I mean, you can provide construction teams with their accurate and current design data. So they're not waiting on you to do an RFI or a transmittal or something like that. Things can actually be viewed within the cloud by everybody, and it's really nice. The streamlined document management. I mean, I really like the robust document management that ACC has. Plant design drawings and specifications, and really other documents can be stored and organized and accessed centrally in ACC. Something cool about this as well is it's not just Plant that can use ACC, and it's not just the engineering or the design side. Construction can be used as well. So it ties everybody together. Everybody in the project can collaborate, and really, like I said, it runs very smoothly. We really like it. A few other things: RFI issues and tracking. This is really cool. It's all built in to ACC, and actually, there's also integrations with things like Navisworks and stuff like that. That are, I know as a piping designer for years, I feel like one screen always had Plant 3D and the other screen always had Navisworks on. And that's just how you design. It's constantly, you have to be checking and collaborating. And, you know, with the Construction Cloud and their new technologies, such as their desktop connector and things like that, they really just all go together very well. They work together very, very well, making it very seamless. Lastly, the mobile access and data analytics. Mobile access, that's just kind of what I touched on at the beginning here, was the collaboration. And again, collaboration is kind of the focus of all this. Being able to access this, I mean, you can actually access this from things like iOS devices, from mobile devices, but also, I mean, I have a laptop here, and I'm confident that I could go to an airport or something like that, get on the internet, get on the Wi-Fi, and I could do my typical design process. I could run Plant 3D through ACC and actually be able to effectively work really from anywhere. I mean, I could go down to the coffee shop and do this. It's really cool, the mobile access that we have now with all of these teams. You don't have to be Ethernet jacked in to be able to actually do your work, to be able to do your design process. Then lastly, for all you data nerds out there, the data analytics is incredible with ACC. Just out of the box, they have a ton of data-driven decision-making and optimization that can be performed. It's really, there's so much behind this that we can really dive into, but I'm going to still keep it a little high level. We are going to do it, like I said, another webinar on each of these topics: the Plant 3D spec-driven modeling, Autodesk Vault, and then Construction Cloud. And if you couldn't tell, I'm most excited about the Construction Cloud. I really love the Construction Cloud. It's awesome. But yeah, just in summary, the integration between the ACC Construction Cloud and Plant it just enhances the collaboration. It streamlines communication. It really improves this document management. We're not having to chase this all around OneDrive anymore. We have it here in ACC, and it really performs very, very well. So we're excited to bring these next webinars to you. So
awesome. Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much for that, Caleb. I'll move on to the next slide here. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat box. We've got Caleb, he can answer those questions for you. And I will send out, you know what, I'll go ahead and put the link to the calendar so you guys get an invitation or can go register for those future webinars as well. So I'll go ahead and drop that there while we're waiting for some questions. All right, I dropped that link in the chat. I also will go ahead and drop the link in the chat for our AutoCAD Plant 3D page. So if you guys want to look into that, learn a little bit more, we've got that page there for you as well. And I think on that page, we even have, I want to make sure before I say it, yes, we have the Ultimate Guide to Plant 3D ebook, absolutely free. You can download that. That is one of the fan favorites for Plant 3D. So you can access that through the link that I put in the chat as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we have a great team of sales and also our consulting team is awesome as far as Plant goes. Very, very knowledgeable people. So if you're kind of thinking about making the jump maybe away from one of our competitors, I highly recommend it just because of our team. Our team is awesome here. So